So I'm going to give people a couple of minutes to jump on, but while I'm doing that, please just let me know what your questions are. Say hi, let me know if you're here, and give me your name so I know who is on the call with us. And you know what? If you're listening to it afterwards, same thing. Let me know your name. Let me know you listened. Ask me what questions you have, because this is a big deal. Um, Even just saying that you're interested in doing this is a big deal. And I mean, I know from personal experience, and I know from the experience, and I have a what I would call a fitness mastermind group. And it's a smaller group of women who we do 6 months of different goals and, different challenges, and pushing ourselves through things that aren't working for us physically and sometimes mentally, sleep, stuff like that. But for right now, the no sugar challenge has been the one that is just like, it's got everyone rattled. That's all I can say. It's got everyone rattled. Everyone is doing amazing. Okay. I think they're at day, I don't know, something like 3 weeks in. We're doing it for a month in the mastermind group. And I'll tell you what, after we do all of this, after we do the 5 days, for those of you who want to try a month, let me know, because I am all in this. And part of the reason is that I know that, well, basically, hang on just a second. Let me just stop for a second real quick, because I'm on Zoom and I'm on Facebook. So I have to be like super smart, smarter than I'm feeling today. So I'm going to hop over and I'm going to say hi to Sarah and Rochelle. Thank you both for joining me. Thank you, Steph, for being here. Everyone who's on, thank you. I mean, really appreciate it. And I may not stop again until the end to ask questions, because, of course, right out of my mind. But what I want to say is that this particular challenge in the group really caught my attention, because I didn't really realize how hard, well, that's not true. I know how hard 2020 was for everybody. Like, in the group, we've been in the mastermind group for a few months now. And there's been a lot of shifts and changes in people's lives, and 2020 was rough. But what I didn't really nail down was the fact that it was rough for all of us, right? Like, I think everybody had this personal thing going on, but in a collective, we had a lot of stuff going on. And I can tell you, I'm just going to tell you my story, because I am flat out clear on what happened with me. So last year, 2020, I do a lot of like no sugar, no wine things myself, because it's better for me and I know it. So I did like January, February, March. Nothing to drink, no sugar, the whole thing. And I was just rocking it, right? Like, I've done this enough times that I felt great. And I had, like, very end of March, I had this really good bike ride. Like, it was a hard ride. I don't remember what we rode. It was like 50 miles, I think. It was hilly. It was hard. I'd been training. Like, I was just on top of my game, on top of my game. And then, boom, right where I was living, Houston, we didn't go into lockdown immediately, but we went into panic stage, right? Like, because nobody really knew what was going on. And in that panic stage, I'm at the end of my 90-day no sugar. My training rides have been shut down. And I thought, well, I mean, we're here. Why don't we have some wine? Which is my sugar of choice, okay? And I don't really have a big sweet tooth, but I do like a good glass of wine. So it just kind of escalated. And I realized that it became this habit, like a total habit. Every night, I'd fix dinner, have a glass of wine. Eat dinner, maybe have a glass of wine with dinner too. So it was a cumulative thing that I didn't realize was happening to everyone around me. And so, and let me know if it was happening to you too, like, jump in. So what came up was maybe in, let's say at the middle of November, I said, hey guys, we should probably do this no sugar thing. And everybody's like, oh, no way. Like, I'm going to the holidays. I've had this terrible year. and I'm just highly stressed and I'm not screwing around with it. And I went, not a problem. Not a problem, because like quitting sugar, and we're going to talk about this next week a lot, but sugar is a super addictive substance. I don't care if you're eating candy or if you're eating the processed foods that have a lot of it, or if you're drinking the wine or whatever it is, that sugar, the more we have, the more we want. It's just the way it is. So that's how this whole thing started. And then what happened was I realized that it was really making a difference. Like, it was making a huge difference. Everybody in the group was super excited. They were like on fire. We created a text list, which I'm going to do for those of you who want to keep going after the first 5 days and you want to do like a 30-day thing. Should I even be telling you that? Like, I shouldn't tell you guys that we're going to do that, but I'll just like pretend I didn't say that. But if you did want to do that, we'll put together text groups, because the text support has been huge, and it's silly and it's funny, but it also allows me to see what's going on with people, right? Like, what's happening with people, and why are they going through all of this and having all these thoughts? And so that's where it all came in. All right. So first thing I want to say is, if there are questions, like I've gotten several questions via email, okay, and a few through Messenger, and you feel free to talk to me in Messenger. I am not super active on Messenger, so I may not see your message for a couple of days, but I will check. I do check it. So if you're on Messenger and you've got, questions, jump in there and let me know. Or leave them here. But otherwise, I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the things that I've heard. Like, the best question I've had so far, this one is the one that cracked me up the most, is that Lisa said to me, she's like, well, yes, I'm in. And this was a Messenger. She actually caught me one night in Messenger, and she says, I'm in, but I have to ask, are the handcuffs included? Because I'm going to need them to quit sugar. I was like, okay, that's funny, but it's a whole lot easier than we think, because a lot of times, like the first few times I did it, I did what I call just white knuckling, right? I just white knuckled myself through it. And when I wanted to eat sugar, I wanted to have a glass of wine, or like, oh, here's my other thing. You guys are going to get all my dirty secrets today. So my other thing is that when I get really stressed, like if I'm in a highly stressed situation, I want a Coca-Cola, like plain old Coca-Cola. Don't know where that came from, because it's not something I keep in the house for a reason, but that's what I want. So like if I catch myself like wanting a Coca-Cola, I know that I'm like in this highly stressed situation. And so all of those things, like, they add up. And so I was just white knuckling myself, like, I can get through this. I don't have to wait. And let me rephrase that. I don't have to I can just do it, right? Like, just willpower. And if you've listened to any of my podcasts, I'm one of those people who says willpower doesn't last. Like, it's a finite source. Willpower is a finite source. We can white knuckle ourselves through anything for a certain period of time. We can. But there's so much easier ways to do it. Like, there really are. There are so many ways that so many things that I have learned over the years that we can put into play that make it so much easier and make it actually not even be a deal, right? I mean, that's what we want. We don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I've got another 2 days of no sugar. I've got to do this for another week, or whatever our number is, right? We don't want to be like that. We want to be like, hey, this is really working. This feels good. And when I have a bad day, I have a stressful day. I had one last week. Got pretty stressed. And at the end of the day, I thought, oh man, I sure wish I could have a glass of wine. And instead of going, nope, can't do that. No, that's bad, bad, bad. Instead of doing that, I started applying all the things we're going to talk about in this challenge, or I don't like the word challenge, in this group, in this event. I just started applying all the things that I've learned, and it was gone. Like, it was never a deal again. It didn't matter. I didn't want it. I felt great. End of story. So That's how I want this to be for all of us. I want it to be something that is so magical and easy, fun in its own way, that it becomes more of a life choice. 'Cause we all know this. I mean, we're smart people, we're smart women. We know this. Sugar just is nothing that we're doing in sugar is good for us. Like, it one of the things that I'm seeing more and more of in my group, people are sleeping so much better. It's it's better for us sleeping, less inflammation, less gut stuff, less brain fog, um, feeling better, like just mentally feeling better. One of the things that's come up a lot, and it came up like in these real quiet little texts to me, like nobody really wanted to admit this. But then when I started saying that people were saying this, everybody's like, yeah, me too, me too. Is the waking up in the middle of the night and having that one moment where you go, damn it, I have got to quit eating all that sugar. I don't feel good, or I've got to quit drinking the wine, or I've got whatever it is, right? That little thing in the middle of the night that just goes, I got to stop doing that. So those things go away, right? And let me be really clear here. I don't think that any of us should talk. Well, let me rephrase that. Um, Most likely, nobody here really needs to think about, I have to quit this for the rest of my life. Because if we think about, I have to quit this for the rest of my life, we're not going to do it, right? It's like, whoa, stop. That's not what I want. So instead, what we want to be thinking about is what works, right? What's feeling good, and what's like why we want this, right? Why we want this, and how we're feeling when we want it. And okay, I think I just went into probably 10 minutes of, oh, this is going to be so wonderful. So let me say some of the questions I've gotten. I'm just going to look at my notes real quick. Okay. So one person was like, so how much weight am I going to lose? That's a question I get a lot. And I will tell you it in two ways. One way is I don't believe in scales. Like I don't get on a scale. I just won't get on a scale because, and it's because scales, scales lie, right? Like every day, a scale, you could have eaten something the day before that made you lose a lot of water weight, or you could have eaten something the day before that made you hold a lot of water weight. It's just like scales lie. They're not real. What is real are like measurements and other things. And I'm not going to talk about like DEXA and stuff like that right now, because those are really good things to do. But this is simple. We're going to go with simple. So how much weight can I lose? I don't know. What I'm seeing is most of the people in the 30 days right now have lost somewhere between 1 to 3 or 4 inches. And when I say inches, okay, we're looking at, my suggestion was that you measure the smallest part of your waist and the biggest part of your belly, because that's where we're going to see it first. Okay. So just like, just starting small, like Donna said, small steps, right? And then what we want to do is with that, you're going to go ahead and we've got that, like, how much weight do I lose? You're going to start losing inches first. Then the other thing is that for some of the people in the 30-day group, they took pictures. They took pictures of themselves because they're like, oh, I'm feeling like my skin doesn't look very good, or I look gray, was what a couple of people said. I kind of have like a bad pale look, not like pale I haven't been out in the sun, but pale, I'm just not feeling it. So they're saying that they're looking better. Then another one is you can track your sleep. I'm a big sleep tracker. I think it's one of those things that we need to do to be the healthiest that we can be. So, we'll track sleep, because that's another way you can tell how well you're doing is by how well you're sleeping, and by your variable heart rate too. We can talk about that later. A couple of other things people have said. Oh, well, okay. Mainly, the most questions I'm getting is, how am I going to do this? I don't have really good willpower. And we're not using willpower, okay? We're going to learn the different tactics that I've started using with people. And those tactics, like, let me just talk about a couple of them real quick. So, like, first, we're going to start with cleaning out. And we'll talk about this next week, okay? But we're going to start with like just clearing out the crap that we shouldn't have in our house, okay? It just sometimes it happens. It's like when I said that I have that little addiction to Coca-Cola when I am stressed. I do not keep it in the house. Like, I do not keep it in the house. If I'm not in a sugar-free time and I feel like I'm really stressed and I'm willing to get up, leave my desk, drive to the store and buy a Coca-Cola, then I can have it. Like, that's desperate. I might as well be down at the corner scoring something, but really, like, so we need to get that stuff out of our house. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what we want to get out, because we're not just talking about sugar. We're talking about the added sugars that we consume. And I'm going to digress for a second, but I'm going to tell you a story. This is something that eye-opening for me. So I have heard for years that, the average American eats, I think it's 52 pounds of sugar a year. And like, I'm just like, that's crazy. No one eats that much sugar. What the hell? And so I don't know what it works out to, but it probably works out to about 6 teaspoons a day, something like that. And I was just like, not me. I don't do that. Well, for breakfast, for a number of years, I have eaten these breakfast bars. And I'm vegetarian, so I'm always kind of looking, I'm looking for the protein, right? Looking for the elusive vegetarian protein. And so these bars say like 20 grams of protein. I'm like, boom, that's what I'm having for breakfast, because that's great. And so when I started doing these sugar-free times, I looked at it and it said I had, I think, 18 grams of sugar. And I was like, wow, that seems like an awful lot. Like, how much is 18 grams of sugar? And when I looked it up, I think, I don't remember exactly, but it was about almost 4 teaspoons of sugar. So there, right? If I was hitting one of those every day, I was right up there with the rest of the world. And I had no idea, right? Like, I thought I was doing something super healthy for myself. And there's just so much stuff that we find, right, when we're out there doing this. And I'm going to stop for just a second, because there is a little, it appears that if you're on Facebook, we might have, there we go. I think it's working now. So sorry about that. So like, we need to look for the sugar, the hidden sugar and the blatant sugar, and we're going to get some of that out of our world. Then another thing that we're going to be talking about is, like, why, right? Why would you do this? Because when we know our why, it is so much easier to stick with what we want to do. And it just is, right? Like, when you just know why you want something, then we have a guiding light. We've got that star, that North Star that we need. So we'll talk about whys, because whys are good for everything, like everything. Okay, I'm not going to keep you guys here all day, but I'm just going to I'll tell you another story. If I tell too many stories, someone just tell me to stop. But here's a why. This morning, I was looking for certain exercises. Like, I have decided that I want to go. I have surfed on and off. I'm not a good surfer. Okay, let's get that straight up. I pretty much suck at surfing, but I've done it on and off for years. And this morning I woke up and I thought, I need to start working on the muscles that I need specifically for surfing. And because there's just a couple of things that, probably I'm not doing right now. And my why is that I want to take off an extended time this summer and go to Costa Rica and go surf. So that's a why. When I decide that I'm too lazy to go do the exercises for that day, then all I have to do is think of my why, and then I go do them. So that's a really tangible why. Like, we've all got different whys, but that is a tangible one that, I just throw out there. So some of the other things that we need to talk about, we're going to look at, the why, the desire, awareness, like where we're going to find the sugar. the preparation, like what we need to do to prep for it. And then like we have triggers, right? We all have triggers in our life. And the triggers are the things that either it's generally a trigger is a time of day, an emotion, a person, an event, like things that cause us to want the thing that we're talking about not having, right? So, for instance, I talked about earlier, like when this whole pandemic thing started, and I just went, whatever. Cooking dinner, have a glass of wine. That's a trigger. Now, I couldn't quit cooking dinner, right? So I had to eat. So I had to figure out how to work around those triggers. And we're going to talk about that because just knowing your trigger is a huge win. Figuring out how to deal with it is like, it's life-changing. Okay, it is. Because otherwise, we're just back to the white knuckling, and we don't want to do that. All right. So the other things are, and let me just look real quick, make sure that I'm following all these notes that I made for y'all. Other questions were, oh yeah. I had talked about, I think in the write-up about soothers, and I'm sorry, I just saw Donna was a trigger like husbands. Absolutely. Like, I will tell you that in the little text group that we were doing last week, there were a lot of husband triggers happening. And it's true, right? I mean, especially if you've been living on Earth this last year, where we're a whole lot closer than we might not have been, than we might have been in the past, like proximity close. Yeah, that's a trigger. Absolutely. So yes, we're just like looking at what those triggers are and how we can work with them, because quite frankly, we can't get rid of them. I mean, I guess we can get rid of the guys, but we don't want to generally. So we have to work around it. And that's a big deal. So those are triggers. And then soothers, we'll talk about, like, a soother is that thing that calms the trigger down. Okay. And there are a lot of soothers that we do. Like, there's some, what I have to say, fall in the woo-woo side. And woo-woo is kind of like, a little bit might feel unscientific to some of my friends. And then there's some stuff that are very like black and white. I mean, we'll talk about how to use a calendar. I'm going to tell you one more story and then I'll stop. I probably won't. I like telling stories. So there's one more story here. So first time I did this, I was like, decided to do 90 days on my own, no one else in. I'm going to do this, no sugar, no alcohol, done, right? And I thought, 90 days is a long time. Especially when I really don't know like what I need to be doing. So like, instead of white knuckling it through, this is when I started really realizing that there's a reason to try other things that we're going to work on. So what I did was I thought, I went way back to my childhood. And when I was a kid, I was a reader, like a serious reader. I still am a serious reader. And one of the things I liked about reading was that I would do a book report and I would get a star. So like you guys, basically, I tell all the stupid stories. But I get a gold star. So I was like, wow, I like gold stars. So I did more book reports and read more books, and like I was the gold star kid. Well, I thought, okay, that's something that used to get me going in a good way, trigger me in a good way. So I got a calendar, put it on the wall, got a bunch of stars, and every day, boom, gold star for not having like messed up that day, not having, drank or eaten or sugar or coffee, whatever it was, right? So that's one kind of soother. That's like a visual soother. And then we have lots of other ones, like we can talk about a lot of other ones. But these are just some of the things that we should start thinking about right now. And I'm going to just suggest real quick, because I think I told you guys this would be 30 minutes and I don't want to keep you on longer than 30 minutes. So first, I'm going to ask, last call for questions. And if anyone's got a question, drop it in the comments, because I'm watching the comments right now. And otherwise, what you can start doing, because you're here already, right? Because you jumped on this call early, get a jump start on everything. Make it even easier next week, okay? So things to start thinking about right now. Looking around where that hidden sugar is and that blatant sugar is. Like for me, the hidden sugar in the breakfast bar. Like, who would have known? Like, I mean, I had always heard that granola had, lots of sugar and stuff like that, but I was eating this kind of specialized um, bar that these people who make supplements made, right? So in my head, I just assumed must be good because it's made by this company that makes supplements. So that was an eye opener for me. Another one is you're going to be looking for what they call added sugars. Okay. Balsamic vinegar. I love balsamic vinegar. I had no idea that it has a ton of added sugar. Excuse me for just a sec. And so right now, I'm not eating balsamic vinegar. Excuse me. Can't all choked up because I can't have balsamic vinegar. But no, so right now I'm not having it. Later on, when we start incorporating things back into our eating that aren't so bad, I'll probably have some, but I'm now aware of it. So start going through your cabinet this weekend and just looking, like, where's the hidden sugar? Like, where's the hidden sugar? Where's the blatant sugar? Like, I mean, now, I think that everybody that is going to be on this call is probably in a little bit better spot because we're into the new year. Usually New Year's bring, a little bit of resolutions, maybe some goals, maybe some eye-opening. And you're not just in the middle of the whole holiday season where there's cookies everywhere, but there's still a lot of, I'll just say it, junk food that gets consumed. So start looking for that, like getting aware. This is awareness. So if you just did nothing else this weekend but get aware, and I can give you one other really good quick start tip, which is go ahead and start making some or looking for some recipes of like wholesome and healthy. Let me get that out. Wholesome and healthy meals that are great for you, right? Maybe a little less of the processed food, more of the, vegetables, meat, all those, things that you buy on the periphery of the store. Start coming up with some recipes that you really like. I don't know if you're like me. I've gotten a little tired of cooking this year, and I like cooking, but it's been it's felt more like an job than it usually does. So, start looking for some things that you might want to make that are going to satisfy you and also be without the sugar. If you're used to desserts, if that's your thing is dessert, then you might want to start looking at maybe I know like one of the things that I thought sounded quite strange, but everybody in the group has been doing it, is they took strawberries and dehydrated them, whether it's in a dehydrator or in a oven for a long period of time. But it just kind of allowed you to have like a little sugary snack that is not sugar. It's just fruit. So, and fruit's okay. Like, eating fruit's fine. So looking for those things that you can start adding in differently. And then next week, we'll really dive into how to set yourself up to win. Okay. So, I'm going to stop one more time, ask if anyone has any other questions, because you guys are super quiet over there, and I am looking at Facebook right now. And if you don't have any questions, then I'm going to say, just like take the time this weekend to really kind of start looking at your food, maybe look at some of your triggers, because a lot of times our triggers, and we'll talk more about triggers, but a lot of times our triggers, we don't really realize what a trigger they are. Okay. Time of day. One of the ladies in the group she said, I had no idea, but sitting down in this particular comfy chair at the end of the day was a super trigger for me because I never sat in that chair without a glass of wine. And so she had to change, how she acted to that trigger. And her choice was to either completely get rid of sitting in the chair, or if we figured out something that we could do a replacement. And we'll talk a lot about replacements. Like, I don't think we should totally replace what we're doing with something else, because that's kind of a crutch. But we'll figure this one out. I promise. We'll talk about this more. But start looking at what some of your triggers are. And like, if it is the husband, well, we probably can't get rid of them. So we'll figure out how to work around them. Okay. Because they are, that is a deal. So other than that, last call for questions. Thank you guys so much for being here. Monday, you'll get a reminder. You'll get a couple of reminder emails, and you'll get a reminder here in the group. You can either jump on in the group, you can jump on in Zoom, doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. And I thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for doing something for yourself, because you're going to realize, I'm betting, just like everyone else in the group has realized, that this is such a huge thing to do for ourselves. Because when we get rid of the sugar, and not, like I said, not for good, but when we figure out how to deal with it properly, inflammation goes down, we sleep better, we feel better, our brains are better, and actually our moods are better too. So thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. You guys are awesome. And yes, Donna started on a positive note. Congratulations. See you guys soon. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Rochelle. And I will talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.